So we're not going to use this tool. Top of the front row.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Reinventing Space Conference at the Royal Society to hear about this very exciting project. And welcome to all of those of you watching live on the web. Thanks for joining us. It's very, very exciting times for space at the moment. I'm Angela Lamont, and as one of the directors of Lunar Mission 1 on the public engagement side, I'd firstly like to say a huge thank you for your support and your patience, as I know many of you who have been following us on social media are more than ready to find out what this amazing project actually is. In my BBC career, I interviewed astronauts, I explored a fusion reactor, I've flown an experimental aircraft, but I have never been as enthused by any project as I am about this one. So I'm delighted to be here today to introduce to you the team behind a new lunar mission for everyone. Lunar Mission 1 is quite simply the most inspirational lunar project since the Apollo landings. And to tell you more, here's the founder of that project, David Iron.
Thank you, Angela, and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Chairman. Welcome to Lunar Mission 1, a global project conceived here in the UK, but for a worldwide participation and ownership. We plan to send an unmanned robotic lander to the south pole of the moon, and there to drill, it's unexplored so far, down to a depth of at least 20 metres, about 10 times deeper than before, and potentially as much as 100 metres. By going below the surface, we will access lunar rock that dates back up to 4.5 billion years to discover the geological composition of the moon, the ancient relationship it shares with the Earth, and the effects of early asteroid bombardment. Ultimately, the project will improve scientific understanding of the early solar system, the formation of our planet and its moon, and the conditions that initiated life on Earth. Before we tell you more about the project, I hope you'll enjoy this short film we've made.
With Lunar Mission 1, we're going where no human has gone before. We're going deep below the surface of the moon.
4.5 billion years ago, it's thought that a giant collision between the Earth and another planet created the moon.
So when we're talking about the origin of the moon, we're really talking about the origin of the solar system.
I think there'll be people in the US, in Europe, in China, across Asia, who'll be very excited by this mission.
In around 10 years, we will send a lunar module to land on the moon. It will carry with it the most advanced scientific equipment and drilling technology.
It will also carry a time capsule containing a record of life on Earth and the memories of an entire generation stored in millions of digital memory boxes.
Lunar Mission 1 was conceived 7 or 8 years ago. There's a lot of science that's been carried out on the moon, but never below the surface. And one of the primary objectives here is to drill down and understand what we can actually find below the surface in terms of the structure of the moon. And then secondly, because it has to drill down to be able to bring out core samples, it's going to put something back in.
Lunar Mission 1 will create the first publicly assembled record of life on Earth. It will contain a history of humankind, a species database that chronicles Earth's biodiversity, from coral reef to rainforest to human habitation. The first edition of this record will be stored in our time capsule, which will be placed deep below the moon's surface.
I think the idea of sending a mission to the moon, then to drill into the moon's surface, is a real technological challenge. I think the idea of our being able to store personal material about ourselves, our DNA and digital material, is incredibly exciting.
We don't have scientific answers that everyone agrees on very simple questions about the moon, such as where did the moon come from?
Up until this point, the furthest anybody has been able to probe down in the moon is just a few meters, whereas this mission is going to go up to 100 meters below, and therefore to do that you've got to have a very novel drilling system. The development of that technology will be built by companies that build the most sophisticated equipment in the world. It's world-class science, it will need world-class technology and world-class organisation, and it'll be led in the UK.
There will be a generation that are inspired by the missions that are happening now. There's the Rosetta mission, landing on a comet, which captured the public imagination.
Lunar Mission 1 has the backing of some of the world's most respected scientific and research institutions, educational institutions. It's something where we're all on our way with a level of understanding and commitment and organization that we've not really seen before.
I probably first got excited by science as a young kid watching man first set foot on the moon. Here, I think, is another opportunity for the next generation of scientists and engineers to be really inspired by what we can achieve.
If we're going to explore space, and I think we have to, then the moon is the obvious stepping stone. It's the easiest place to land and build a base. Everyone can play a part directly in the funding, that they can know that they've given this money and that money is going to go into the technology which is going to land on the moon, it's going to do the science. I'm a parent, I've got a 5-year-old. What a wonderful thing to do, to say, well, here you go, there's my money, I'm part of this mission. But I think the key thing for me is that everybody can say, I think we should explore space. I want to increase the sum total of human knowledge. I want to know how the solar system formed. It's important, and so I am going to do something about it.
I think space is going to be the defining issue of our era. I urge you to get involved and support Lunar Mission 1. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
Welcome to Lunar Mission 1.
I hope that gives you a sense of the mission and of our ambition and the rewards that would flow from the whole project. Lunar Mission 1 will make a unique contribution to our knowledge and understanding of the story of the Earth and the Moon. What are the origins of the Moon? How did the late heavy bombardment shape the past, the history of our own planet? Is the Moon suitable for a permanent manned base for space exploration? These are a few of the questions that the mission will seek to help us answer. While the mission will make fresh scientific discoveries on the Moon, we also want the project to help us learn more about our own planet, about its life, about us, our past, our present, our future. We will be bringing together schools, academics, the general public from around the world to compile a public, free-to-access digital record of life on Earth, of human history and civilization, and a scientific description of the biosphere, with a database of species, all for permanent storage in the Moon. Publicly owned and free to access, this public archive is a hugely ambitious plan which needs the resources of a project of this scale to make it happen. Lunar Mission 1 also presents a wonderful opportunity to create a legacy for education. We're at the beginning of investigating what this opportunity is, but already we see huge potential for inspiring the next generation about science, about engineering, about ourselves, about our world. Our aim is to develop an international programme of engagement with schools and colleges, and we're working with the Institute of Education, the Open University and others to make it all happen. We're going to give you a bit more detail on all these areas in a moment, but first, the million-dollar question, or rather, the billion-dollar question. How are we going to pay for it all? Government money is as limited as ever for space missions designed to advance knowledge and understanding. Well, our first funding phase begins today as we launch the project on the international crowdfunding platform Kickstarter. Designed to raise about $1 million, we will use the money raised through pledges through the website to finance the early project management and program planning. Pledges start from as little as $5. Further funding will follow in stages. The central reward for those who pledge their support via Kickstarter is a reservation for a digital memory box in a private archive that will sit alongside the public archive of Life on Earth. Together, these two archives make up a 21st century time capsule that we will bury in the borehole below the surface of the Moon as part of Lunar Mission 1. People will be able to upload whatever information they want into their personal memory boxes. Statements, messages, photos, audio, video, with the option of a strand of hair. Following our Kickstarter funding, while we are setting up the project, we will be developing this consumer proposition, and later we will launch a major global sales and marketing campaign. Our market research in the US as well as the UK shows very strong support for our mission, for our concept of a permanent time capsule, and for paying for personal information to be part of it. More of this available on our website, which also launches today. Our market projections for the cash raised by the sale of space in our private archive, it will fund Lunar Mission 1. And that's not all. All the surplus that comes from this project will be provided and given to a non-profit Lunar Missions Trust, which will fund and help fund further space science and exploration missions. And so, the project's long-term legacy includes a completely new way of financing space exploration.
Thank you very much, David. So the exciting phase of fundraising we have at the moment will enable the relevant experts to prepare the detailed project plan and to assemble a world-class team for Lunar Mission 1. So now it's my great pleasure to introduce Richard Holdaway of RAL Space, the mission's technical advisors. And Richard is going to explain more about the practical components of the mission and the timetable for the mission. Richard.
Thank you, Angela. 45 years ago, 1 billion people around the globe, no doubt including many people here in the Royal Society and many of those watching on the live web stream, sat in front of a television, as I did then, and just watched in awe as Neil Armstrong stepped out onto the moon. And it was that, in a sense, that inspired me to spend my life and career working in the space program. But something that happened on that day, and gradually has changed ever since, made me think that was a wonderful event in time, but it'll never capture the public imagination again. Never again will 1 billion people watch a space program. And then just last week, with the Rosetta program, nearly 1 billion people watched the landing on the comet over the television and over the media now that we, of course, use every day of our lives, the internet. 1 billion people again. And there was tremendous interest for it. We wondered when we went live this morning just how much public interest there would be, and particularly from the media as well. And it's been absolutely staggering. Every single national newspaper in the UK has carried the story today. Every major TV channel has already covered it live, both from very first thing this morning right through lunchtime broadcast, and there are a whole bunch of things in the can now for presentation and showing on TV on the 6 o'clock news and 10 o'clock news, and TV companies around the world as well. You may have noticed on your way in today, the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, Reuters were here as well. There's been a lot of coverage already. So let us not imagine that there isn't real genuine interest from the public and from the media, because there absolutely is, and we know that now with absolute certainty. And you heard from David that the programme, really, this project has been going 7 years in terms of the conception. Sounds a long time, but 7 years ago, those that were involved in the team really were wondering what we could do as a global community to inspire people and to get a new way of funding and running a space program. It's taken until today to get to that point. But one thing I want to make it absolutely clear, this is a science-led mission. It's doing other things as well, but it is science-led. It's about asking and answering some of the imponderable questions for the very final time, with 100% certainty rather than 95% certainty. Where did the moon come from? And we know pretty much for sure, but not completely for sure, that it came as a result of an impact of something the size of Mars on the Earth 4.5 billion years ago. And that threw a lot of material up into space, and over the next 500 million years, that material gradually coalesced together into what we now know as the moon. We know that with reasonable certainty. This program, amongst many other things, will answer that question, because we're going to do world-class science, but enabling it, as we all know here, those of us in the room here that work in the space program, you need world-class technology to answer world-class science and to answer world-class science questions. And this program is going to be full, not just of world-leading equipment and scientific experiments, but world-leading technology. Just going to the moon and landing is not that easy. How do we know it's not that easy? Because only 3 countries have done it. The Americans, of course, have done it, the Russians have done it, and more recently the Chinese have done it. So this will be a first for the European Space Agency. It'll be the first for many other countries that want to be involved in this program. And indeed, in terms of collaboration, it will be a truly global scientific program, a completely global technical program, and a mission-led program. We already have a number of the scientists and engineers from the Rosetta program that has been so successful working with us on this program, and many more will join us. We know that because we have spoken to them, a large number of scientists and engineers in NASA, in the European Space Agency, in the Indian Space Agency, and with the Russians want to join us as well. And this gives us a real opportunity to be able to learn from each other and bring this capability together. As David has mentioned, we're digging a hole in the moon, a couple of inches wide, at least 20 meters, and if all goes well, about 100 meters deep, and bringing out a core sample and being able to analyze all of that data, rock and material from 5.5 billion years ago, not just material that was on the moon, but material that originally came from the Earth, because that's what we expect to find, that material, the isotopes, the fingerprints of that material on the moon will show us that it came from the Earth and how. And it'll also show us things that we didn't know about the Earth that we can't find out now, because the Earth has been continuously bombarded by material from outer space, deep space, that hasn't similarly bombarded down below the surface of the moon. So there are questions that we can only answer on the moon. But because we're digging this big hole, we can put stuff back in there. And during the team's original analysis over the previous 7 years on how to do this type of work, one of the things that came through from the public is they'd like to be able to put something back in there. Well, options like putting clangers in there, of course, have been looked at, but that's not really practical. But what we can do is put digital archive, the sort of thing you have on a memory stick. And so, as David has mentioned already, public will be engaged not just in the program and being able to watch it develop, as any space program develops, but they'll have much clearer internet access to the teams involved with the science, the teams involved with the engineering, how this whole thing comes together. but they'll be able to provide their own digital memory to go in the canisters that will go back down in the hole. And that can be anything. It can be whatever you want. It could be photographs of yourself, photographs of your family, it can be video, it can be absolutely anything. And that's as well as the public archive, which will be overseen by an organisation, something like UNESCO, which will be a complete archive of human history and civilizations since we first arrived as beings on the planet. And so that's the science and technology and the legacy issue. One of the really important issues that I know is shared by many people here at the Royal Society in this room now is the inspiring side of the programme. And one of the things that we continuously say is we need to inspire our children to get more involved and understanding of science and of technology. And there is no better way of doing that than the space programme. And yet again, the phrase we keep coming up with is this is a truly global programme. And we want to engage children and adults alike to encourage them, again, to understand better and enjoy better science and technology, and particularly for the space programme. They'll be able to watch online, but more importantly, they'll be able to participate directly. And remember, some of the children that will be perhaps mid-year teenagers now will already be working in their careers in 5 or 6 years' time and could very well be involved in this space program. There'll be children watching on television today thinking, well, yeah, I'm going to be going to university, graduating in 4 or 5 years' time. Maybe I could be involved in this program. And the answer is yes, you almost certainly could be. So that's something that we're going to be working very hard on over coming months, not just understanding the science and the measurements we need to make to answer the science questions, but understanding, and that's why we at RAL Space have been brought in, because we've been involved in over 200 science missions over the years, understanding what the risks are, the technologies that we need, who can provide them, and very importantly, the answer to that question won't be it's all in the UK, or even it's all in Europe, or even all in the United States. It's going to be all around the world. And that's one of the really important issues for us, which is to bring in that expertise from all around the world, not just the education, but the science and the technology as well. So I can see us very easily having companies and universities right across the whole globe involved in this program. We've already begun to engage quite heavily with teams from around the world. In terms of the timescale, the current phase, which kicked off at midnight last night, carries on for a period of about a couple of years while we do the next stage of the design. Those of you that work in the space field will know you've got pre-phase A, phase B, and so on. This is going into phase A design. It's the real beginnings of the detailed design. And at the same time, understanding and de-risking the major risks for the technology. And that period will take us 3 years. Then it's going into a 6-year final design and build phase. And that sounds a long time, doesn't it? 7, 8, 9 years to build a space mission. Remember, Hubble was 25 years before it actually got launched. We're talking of just under 10 years to launch. And then we start operations in 2024. And so for the whole of that program, which is a pretty typical mission, there'll be a huge opportunity to engage people. And one of the things that we are really hoping will come out of this program, which will be another unique opportunity, is that if you think back to the Cold War, there were only 2 things during the Cold War that brought the West and the East, in particular the United States and Europe and Russia, together. And those 2 things were football and the space program. And both of those continued together during the whole of that space program. We have another unique opportunity on this program, because it's not government funded, because it's privately funded, to bring again together Russia and the United States and Europe and Japan and India, but also China. There is phenomenal interest in China in their own space program. There was a conference in China this morning at which this program was raised, and there was incredible interest from the media and the public in China to be involved in a civil space program. So I think it's watch this space in that particular area, the ability for us to be able to engage around the world in a way that has never happened before. And then just finally, an idea of some of the groups that are involved in the project at the moment. And at the moment there are something like 50 different groups involved, and this isn't the most important 10 or whatever of the 50. These are the ones probably that have been involved with the longest. You can see already it's a mixture of a lot of experience in space programs, a lot of experience from scientists, A lot of experience, incidentally, not just from ordinary engineering companies, but from IT companies, from civil engineering companies, who indeed, through things like drilling, have technologies that we can use on this program. So it's a fabulous opportunity, and I think the bottom line for everybody here and everybody listening is don't just watch this program develop, be a part of it developing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Richard. So we've already given you an overview of the project and some of the benefits it will bring. The benefits for science and technology, the massive potential for an educational legacy and to bring the new generation of engineers on stream. It will pioneer a new route to funding space exploration. And of course, it will be a true people's project, engaging people, young, old, man, woman and child, across the globe. And I would risk saying perhaps engaging them more together rather than soccer, which there's a few disagreements over that. I think in space we can all come together. The chance to get involved with this starts right now. Our Kickstarter site went live just a few hours ago at midnight, and it seems a lot of people feel, as Brian Cox said in the video, that this is important to increase the sum total of human knowledge by getting involved. And so already people are pledging their support. Just before I came on stage, the total pledge stood at £110,000. I believe that's now gone up to £118,000 of our £600,000 target. So thank you to everyone who has already pledged, and please keep on doing so and help us to make this mission happen. Now, we launched our social media presence 2 weeks ago, and since then people haven't stopped tweeting about it. During that time, we've had interest shown by figures as diverse as Stephen Fry, UK Government Minister Ed Vaizey, One Direction Harry Styles' sister Gemma Styles, and as you saw in the video, Brian Cox too. So this has only continued to build since the full website went live at midnight. And the media coverage really began. Richard said how much media coverage we've had. We've had coverage in the Telegraph, in the New York Times, on the Today programme, BBC and ITV News, NBC, CNN. Quite frankly, I've lost track, which really does show you how fired up people are about space right now and wanting to hear about space and wanting to get involved, because this is truly a mission for everybody. Whoever you are and wherever in the world, you can get involved. So, David, what are the different ways that people can act today?
Most importantly, you can pledge on Kickstarter. For as little as $5, £3, you can play your part in Lunar Mission 1. Just visit our website, lunarmission1.com, and follow the link. You can follow us on Twitter, on Facebook, and share your support for our mission, and help us access your own networks, and spread the word about the project. If you represent an organisation, a company, or an institution, please consider linking to our website and blog about us on your website. If you are creating media for either internal or external audiences, please include us. That's for newsletters, membership information, and any other publication. And finally, tell everybody. Tell all your friends, your colleagues, your family. We hope this presentation leaves you as enthused about our project as we are. And if you can think of any other ways to help us, do please get in touch. We'd love to hear from you.
I hope you've been inspired by what you've seen and heard today, and I hope that in whatever way you can, that you can help us to make this mission happen and to make space accessible for everyone and inspirational to everyone. And tell everyone that rather than just watch a mission this time, you can join in from day one. So please be a part of Lunar Mission 1. Thank you.
Well done.